To be honest, things were clearer when we were just soldiers.
Why is a tactical droid more important than the other droids?
The more tactical droids fought, the more they learned. And won.
Security breach! Lock it down!
I'm not going to shut down the economy, period. I'm going to shut down the virus.
You get this lockdown lifted.
The last thing we need is Neanderthal thinking.
You shorted out the entire system. I had to override the lockdown.
The cure might be as bad as the disease. If you shut schools, you shut small businesses, and we lose all these operations permanently.
Welcome to A Conspiracy in the Force, the show where we examine parallel conspiracies in a galaxy far, far away and a galaxy not so far away. The show is designed as an introduction to modern-day conspiracy theories by using Star Wars, one of the most beloved fictional universes, as a point of reference. Let's begin.
Hey, Conspiracy Kyle here. If you like this podcast, please rate, subscribe, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. It greatly helps out the show, and it's much appreciated. Also, please follow me on Twitter
And Instagram.
at conspiracy_Kyle, and that's conspiracy with a K. Also, follow me on YouTube at Conspiracy Kyle, once again with a K. Now on to the show. This episode is titled, We Are the Bad Batch 3. This episode will cover themes presented in episodes 5 and 6 of the series. But one thing I failed to mention on my previous Bad Batch episode was some pretty blatant predictive programming present in episode 4 of the series. In this episode, they are exploring a relatively uninhabited moon and get out of their ship to explore. Due to the unknown climate, the crew puts on a piece of protective equipment before they exit the ship. And what was that equipment? Well, it's a piece we've all grown to know and love in 2020 and 2021. The face covering. The mask. The specific mask used harkened back to Empire Strikes Back, where Han, Leia, and Chewie donned this gear when they were exploring the environment of a cave they were in the asteroid field, which actually turned out to not be a cave at all, but the belly of a giant space slug. As soon as I saw this mask, I had mixed emotions about it. For one, I appreciated the obvious callback to Empire. But for two, my eyes also rolled into the back of my head thinking, oh great, how are they going to try to manipulate and program us with this and tie it into more COVID fear? And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. One of the characters is attacked by a monster and his mask falls off, and what do you know, he goes unconscious. Of course. This in and of itself could have an in-universe explanation, sure. The moon they were on may have had poor air quality, and it wasn't fit for sentient beings to breathe, so I get that. But the timing of this coming out during year 2 of the corona garbage is highly questionable. In episode 6, you find out that the droid army that was created to fight the clones in the Republic during the Clone Wars of the prequels is being shut down and completely scrapped. This was very intentional by Palpatine. The droids were only a pawn in his grand scheme, since he was shadow controlling the droid army and the clone army at the same time. Really, the Clone Wars were just a means to an end for him to consolidate power. So at a certain point, he just had the droid army switched off, conveniently right after his empire had taken complete control of the galaxy. So in this episode, the Bad Batch are sent to recover some tactical droids from a facility that is disposing of the remainder of this droid army. Now, these tactical droids were different than normal battle droids. They were pretty advanced AI machines. The tactical droids were essentially the commanders of the infantry battle droids and gave commands and orders. But their AI also allowed them to learn and create new strategies as conditions and battles changed. And even so far as to take previous battle experience into account when going into new battles and using that prior learned experience to find new advantages in this new conflict. The idea behind the Bad Batch gathering up these droids is so that they could be useful in fighting against the clones loyal to the Empire. As the phrase goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Advanced AI, while it definitely has upsides in our world, it can also be a very scary thing if wielded improperly. In the podcast episode I did a few weeks ago with Charlie Robinson on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, he reiterated that, a lot of the Fourth Industrial Revolution components could be beneficial or helpful or make things more efficient in our world. If you or I were in charge, that would be a great thing. But unfortunately, these programs are being run and orchestrated by egotistical psychopaths, the ones that run this world. So there's obviously a devious nature built into those programs, AI, Fourth Industrial Revolution, etc. In the same episode, you also hear some interesting wording being used, which in the context of our world today is interesting to hear. The word you hear a lot in this episode is lockdown. Obviously on its face, it's referring to the security at the droid factory they infiltrated. The facility leaders are trying to lock down the facility to prevent information and droid components from leaving the factory. But it just sounded too peculiar when Hunter, the leader of the Bad Batch, said to his cohorts, quote, "Get this lockdown lifted." Also, from a metaphorical sense, the facility was going into lockdown because they sensed danger and didn't want anybody or anything to leave. In our world, we have all at some points over the past few years been locked down during the COVID craziness due to perceived dangers and fear of passing COVID to others without having any symptoms at all. The Bad Batch team is eventually able to override the lockdown, another interesting phrase there, but they had to shut down the entire system to do so. Let me repeat that. They were able to override the lockdown, but they had to shut down the entire system to do so. In our world, we've seen that many of the systems and infrastructures have truly been shut down during the lockdown period and even after these lockdowns have been lifted. We've seen small businesses being destroyed, supply chains affected, and now in 2021 we're seeing virtual hacking done on pipelines, food suppliers, and others. So similarly in our world, the lockdowns are being lifted, but the next phase of the plan appears to be a shutdown of the entire system. Scary. So, in closing, stay strong out there, everyone. Who knows what will happen, but staying strong and staying true to your beliefs is key. Although it's very difficult, obviously. You even hear a similar sentiment mentioned by Hunter in this episode. He's coming to terms with his new role in this post-Republic world where he is now fighting against the system he used to trust. He says, quote, "Life was easier when we were just soldiers." And that's so true. For me personally, life truly was easier before I woke up to the uncomfortable truths of our world. But that doesn't mean it was a better way to live. It was just an easier path. Think about what Yoda told Luke when he abandoned his Jedi training on Dagobah to attempt to rush off and save his friends before he was ready. Quote, "If you take the quick and easy path, as Vader did, you will become an agent of evil." In our world, being complacent and ignorant to the truth is essentially the same as being complicit in lies. May the Force be with you. Remember, we are the Bad Batch. We are not like them.